Okay, so this is question 3D, I think. So let's go ahead and answer 3D. They're saying that the graphs for the f of x is a sine of x, and the g of x is negative 2 cos x plus q. For the interval of x equals, x is an element of 0 and 360 degrees. So normally I would highlight things, but now the difficulty here, oh, they do label it. Okay, so they do label it. This is our f of x, and we're saying our f of x is a sine graph, and then our g of x is a cos graph. And they're telling us that our interval is from 0 till 360. And first question is, what are the values of a and q? So let's start with the f of x. We know that this a value normally refers to our amplitude. And when I look at my graph, the amplitude here for the f graph is going to be 2. So I'm going to say that a equals 2 because my amplitude is 2. Second question, or the second equation, what is the value of q? So I know that my q graph, let's flip it for you. So normally if I was to draw a cosine graph, it would look like this, and that would be positive 1, and that would be negative 1. Okay, so if I did the inverse and I simply did that, my positive 1 and my negative 1 stays the same. So the yellow graph is negative 2 cos of x. But the one that I have in the picture has got a vertical shift. So what happens is that this that would normally be negative 1 is now on 0. And this that would normally be negative 1 is now on 0. Can you see that? And this that would normally be 1 is actually 4. Okay, so now we've got a confusion, because if I just moved 1 up, why is this one 4 instead of 2? Because of the 2 over there. So 2 times 2 becomes 4, right? So instead of this would now be negative 2, and this one would be positive 2. So instead of just normal cos, I'm doing negative 2 cos. And all of a sudden, the shift is no longer a single step, but it's 2. 2 until 0. And this one ends up being 2 until 4. Meaning that my q value ends up being a positive 2. Q is plus 2. I hope that made sense to you. Next question, what is the period of g? The g of x is a cosine graph, and we know that the period of g is going to be 360 degrees from start to start. Write down the amplitude of f. We've already done that. Question number 3, the amplitude of f is going to be 2. From flat line to the highest point, flat line to the lowest point. What is the minimum value of g? Minimum value is the lowest part, so the g is my green graph, and the lowest value for g is 0. What is the range for the h of x if the h of x is equal to 3 times the f of x plus 1? So the h of x is equal to negative 3 times, and the f of x is 2, because we got a, right? 2 sine x, close the bracket, plus 1. So I've substituted the f of x with the value of the f of x. Now I'm going to multiply it out, and we're going to say negative 6 sine x plus 1, and we want the range. So let's just quickly look. I know that my amplitude is going to be that, which means that my highest and my lowest points, if this is a normal negative sign graph, would look like this, and my highest point would be positive 6 and my lowest point would be negative 6. But I've got that plus 1 attached to it, so the plus 1 means this goes up 1 unit and it becomes minus 5, and this goes up 1 unit and it becomes 7. So now my range goes from negative 5 to positive 7. So I'm answering my question as negative 5, comma, positive 7. And that's the end.